Welcome to Northworthy Sagas and Stories. Hello once again. Welcome once more to Northworthy Sagas and Stories. I am your host, Tyrkir, and I welcome you here once again. Please subscribe, don't forget to smash the like button, and follow us on Twitter. Now this is a story from the late 11th century, the latter part of 1000s AD. And, well, of course, as I'm sure many of you will know, this was a time when the Norman conquest had taken place in 1066 at the Battle of Hastings. Harold Godwinson, the last Saxon king of England, was defeated by Duke William and his army. And after that, the country fell under Norman rule. And in the Shire, known as Derbyshire, the former shire of the town once called Northworthy, there were two villages in the south of the county, just this side of the River Trent. And one of them was called Stappenhill, which means steep hill in Old English, and doubtless refers to the hill where the church now stands. However, the other has a very old name, Drakelow, meaning the floor, the burial mound of the Draken, the dragon, dragon's claw. And the word law, well, it describes any artificially constructed mound where someone was buried in pagan times, and is often described in stories like Beowulf. A dragon would often take up home there amidst a pile of glittering treasure, guarding the house of the dead. And this may mean that the dead slept there peacefully. However, as this story will show, there can be times when the dead do not sleep, but can walk again. Indeed, the walking dead are known in Old Norse as Draugr, terrifying zombies possessed of superhuman strength, and often with a terrible curse attached to them. Now, of course, in the villages of Stappenhill and Drakelow, after the conquest of the Normans, much of the land was owned by Njal of Stafford, and some of it also by the abbot of Burton, for indeed Burton Abbey lay just the other side of the Trent. And, well, the villagers lived there, farming, earning a simple living for themselves. And recently, two peasants had entered the area, and they'd run away from their lord, perhaps from Njal of Stafford himself. They had broken their oaths that they had sworn in the name of God to serve him, and, well, they died not long afterwards. Now, the good people of the two villages, they were honest, law-abiding Christian folk, and so they gave those two runaway serfs a proper Christian burial. And so it was, a few days later, that some uncanny events began. 9 nights after they'd been interred, it was raining in Drakelow, and there came a knocking upon the door of the house owned by Ulrich, the farmer. Bang, bang, bang on that heavy wooden door, and a voice, Ulrich, Ulrich, it's intoned. And that law-abiding yeoman and his family peered through the planked cracks of the doorway, and they could see, outside in the rain, two figures wrapped in white burial shrouds, carrying their coffins upon their backs. And the knocking continued all night long, hammering upon the door as Ulric's name was called again and again. He and his family were too terrified to sleep or to go outside, and so for that matter were the rest of the people of Drakelow. And in the morning, the two figures had gone. However, Ulric had been overtaken by a terrible sickness, his body racked with fever, spasms of pain running throughout his entire body. And the following night, it was Stappenhill that saw the advent of the walking dead. And this time, it was Godric, another honest, law-abiding farmer, who was visited by the Draugr. Once again they hammered upon his door, whilst carrying their coffins with one hand, knocking with the other, calling out, "Guric! Guric!" For they could not pronounce the first half of his name, God. That word could not pass their lips. And the next morning, Godric too fell, cursed by the same sickness that had possessed Ulric. He too was consumed with fever, racked by agony. And the next night, and the next, yet more honest men and women, they fell prey to the same strange malady as the Draugr visited their homes. The sickness continued, and those afflicted by it hovered on the edge of death. Finally, the people of Drakelow and Stappenhill had had enough. They went to the cemetery, and they exhumed the bodies. The coffins were unearthed, the lids were prized off. And when they looked, they saw that those two dead peasants, still wrapped in their burial linen, their bodies were strangely undecayed. There'd been no putrefaction whatsoever. However, the cloth that covered their faces was stained with fresh blood. And so now, the yeomen of the parish, they held an assembly and tried to decide what to do. It was suggested that they might try cutting 1 foot off each of the undead. For if this were done, they'd only be able to walk in a circle and be far less of a threat than they had been before. Nevertheless, this was discounted as a solution. Something more permanent was required. And it was Emma, Ulric's wife, who suggested that they cut off the heads of the undead and lay them between their legs, and so this was done. And also, the hearts were cut out from their chests, and afterwards the coffin lids were closed, nailed back down again, and the graves covered up with earth. And then the undead hearts were taken to the edge of the parish boundary, and there a pyre was built, a lattice work of criss-crossed wooden logs, the hearts upon them. The pyre was set alight, the flames blazed up high, The hearts bubbled with black blood, steaming before they finally caught light. And as they did so, a black crow flew out of the flames. And from that time on, neither Drakelow nor Stappenhill was ever disturbed by the walking dead again. But for now, that's the end of this story. Please click on the notification bell. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Thank you.